Welcome to Oyate Today. Oyate in Lakota means people. Brought to you by Native Sun News Today. Hi, welcome to Oyate Today. I am your host, Richie Richards. Oyate Today is produced by Tim and Jackie Gallego. Tim is an enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux tribe. Our guests tonight, well, our very special guests tonight, are President Tom Johnson of Elevate Rapid City, as well as Brandis Knudsen, Director of Small Business Development and Investor Relations of Elevate Rapid City as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Richie. Thanks.
Thank you for having us, Richie.
Awesome. I've been following your gentlemen's work. I just really am impressed. I'm glad to have you on our show. And Mr. Johnson, I know President Johnson, I know you're new to the area. You've been here for a couple of months, but you've hit the ground running. So I'm just glad to have you on our show, and we'll get to some more of your work and what you've been up to these days. But tell us a little bit about yourselves. Brandis, you can go ahead and start.
So I'm born and raised in South Dakota. I grew up in St. Francis and White River before moving to Rapid City temporarily. I moved back to White River for high school. I actually moved out on my own when I was 17 and moved back to Rapid City because I just loved the area so much and had so many friends and connections here. I then moved to Spearfish temporarily, where I began a university at Black Hills State. Moved back to Rapid City after my son was born. And had basically started a career in Rapid City over the last 18 years. I have worked for, I started in college with Premier Bank, and then I moved to Car Now Acceptance Company, and then Green Tree, and then the Rapid City Journal, where I spent the last 6 years as a sales manager and other various leadership roles. Linda Raby from the Chamber of Commerce had recruited me to their organization, which is now merged with Elevate Rapid City. And I started there as their membership director, currently sales director, and now taking on a new role as director of small business development and investor relations.
That's awesome. And you've won a few music awards along the way that you failed to mention, and I'm just proud of you for that as well.
Well, I certainly do appreciate that. And so with that being said, I do own a small business myself as well, and I know some of the struggles that small businesses face and different ways that we can help curb those challenges and different resources available that we'd like to share with the community.
You're very humble about your music. If I won awards, I'd be carrying those awards everywhere. Trust me.
They're in the car.
Oh, cool.
Hold on, I'll go get them.
Yeah. Next time, President Johnson, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a recent transplant to Rapid City, but there's much more to the story. So please tell us about yourself.
Well, first, feel free to call me Tom. President Johnson sounds just, I think my dad would want to say to me, hey, do you think you're better than everybody else? So please call me Tom.
Sure.
A little bit older than Brandis, as you can imagine from looking at me. I've been in community and economic development for about 25 years. I grew up in central Wyoming. I actually grew up in and around the Wind River Reservation. Spent most of my childhood in that area, central Wyoming. Went to school at University of Wyoming, so I've spent a lot of time in Wyoming. Last two jobs, I helped run the state of Wyoming's economic development organization for Governor Meade, and at that time I was able to help and work with two tribes in Wyoming, the Arapaho and the Shoshones, in central Wyoming in terms of their community and economic development. Most recently, last 2 years, I've been in Colorado. I was the director of community engagement for Colorado State University, in which I was able to also work with the Southern and Mountain Utes in Colorado on community and economic development issues. I've been in Rapid City for about 8 weeks, and so I'm really excited to be here and hit the ground running. But most of my career has been spent in community and economic development, so this is kind of what I'm here to do, and I'm really excited to do it.
So how did you get to Rapid City then? Were you recruited? You apply for a job? How did that work?
I got a call from a headhunter. I think I was in Aspen, Colorado, and I got a call on the phone, and they said, hey, we heard about your name. We heard you're good at this stuff. And I said, where'd you get my name? And then they told me somebody had just referred me to them. They said, would you be interested in a job in Rapid City, South Dakota? And at first I said, oh gosh, I haven't been in Rapid City for at least 15 years. I remember coming here as a child and my mom and dad taking me to Mount Rushmore and then Bear Country as well. My mom's real big on making sure I always get to Bear Country. And so I thought, well, gosh, I wonder if this place has grown much since I was a kid. And so when I got up here, I made it through the first round of interviews. Wow, the downtown had really grown and it was just screaming fast growth here. Healthcare, what they were doing with the arena, all the cultural healing that had been done with some of the issues around the Lakota culture here, all that stuff had really kind of coalesced in the last 3 or 4 years. And so I was just really excited about the opportunity. And of course, there's nothing like the Black Hills. It's one of the most magical places in the world. And so that had always been a draw to me. And I was just humbled and honored to come and have the opportunity to work in this area.
And so well, first of all, you're the president of Elevate Rapid City. Let's first define what that means. What does it mean to elevate Rapid City in your terms? And then we'll kind of get into some of your goals as president and what the goals that have been set for you as well.
The one thing I like about the word elevate is it's a verb, and it's an action verb. It's not a passive verb. It also really talks just inherently how elevating means elevating everybody. So this group and our organization is not here to elevate one group over the other. We're here to elevate the entire region, and that means also we're here to work with Native American businesses, the Native American cultural resources to try to elevate this entire region. So we're really interested in making sure the region rises, and also telling that story as well, the region, elevating the voice. So we really want to give a voice to those stories that maybe in the past haven't been able to be told because the resources weren't there in the community and economic development organizations.
Sure. And Brandis, you were recruited, as you mentioned, Linda had recruited you to come in and be a part of the team as well. And so what's your role been like so far? I know you recently transitioned into a new title, but what's been your goal, and what does Elevate Rapid City mean for you, the verb or the term, I guess?
So I started with the Chamber of Commerce Division in March. And a big portion of me accepting the position was knowing kind of what the goal of Elevate was and the potential that was to come with it, not only for myself and my career, but for our community. That was really the biggest selling point for me to be part of this organization. Over the last roughly 10 months now, my role primarily focused on investor recruitment and investor retentions and just ultimately investor relations, to be out in the public, meeting new people, connecting people, advocating for businesses and promoting those local businesses throughout the community.
I follow you on social media, Brandis, and I know that you reached a recent milestone that you posted about. What was that?
So on, I believe it was Monday, I had signed my 100th investor into the Chamber of Commerce Division.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
Awesome. Tom, what are some of the goals that you've set for yourself for Rapid City? We'll get into some of the other details of what you're doing, but I just want to know what would be your goal of coming to Rapid City. I know Elevate and the whole, bringing up the community, the business community, as well as the community in general, but what goals have you set for yourself here in Rapid City? And I guess the other half of that question would be, what are some of the goals that have been set for you? I don't know if that's...
No, they really have been set for me. I wish I could come up with my own, actually, that were a little easier than the ones they've set for me. But they've set some pretty lofty expectations with this group as we're merging these three organizations, the Chamber, the Ascent Innovation Center, and the Economic Development Organization, merging those together. So some of the goals include several thousand jobs, so 4,000 to 5,000 jobs, $130 million of new investment,
Wow.
Raising income levels, GDP growth, raising high school attainment rates. So there's a lot of goals in there that we're expected to try to hit, and these outcomes. What the trick, though, is, Richie, is to try to make sure that your outcomes match your outputs. So you're trying to do the things that you can every day to get as close to those outcomes as possible. So for example, Brandis, in his recent promotion, we know that the more companies that Brandis goes out and talks to, the more opportunities he's going to learn about where we can use some of our tools, financial or market research or technical assistance. So the more folks he talks to, the more chances we're going to have to expand businesses, including Native American-owned businesses. And so when you're linking those things you do every day and numbers, so Brandis can literally, he just told you he hit his 100th, he can count the number of people he's talking to per week. So we know if we link those outputs to what we do every day, we're going to be successful in our outcomes. The basketball coach John Wooden used to say, sometimes I had the most talented team and I didn't win. Sometimes I had one of the least talented teams and I won a national championship. So I recognize that Elevate Rapid City may not be able to control the economy, for instance. We can't control interest rates. We can't control the price of oil. We can't control the trade war with China. there's a lot of things we can't control. So we may not always find that we can control the economy. But what we can do, Richie, and what we're going to do, and I'm so lucky to have Brandis at my side to do this, is no one's going to outwork us. We're going to get up every day and try to elevate this region, and we can control how hard we work, and we're going to work as hard as we possibly can.
I wish I could do the same. We'll be back after a short break.
Closed captioning for Oyate Today is brought to you by Black Hills Energy. Ready.
Native Sun News has been voted the best weekly newspaper in its class for 2015 by the South Dakota and North Dakota Newspaper Associations. You can find a copy of the Native Sun News at many businesses and vending machines in Rapid City and the surrounding area, and on all 9 reservations. We publish every Wednesday, so advertisers and subscribers can reach our diverse readership by calling 605-721-1266. The Native Sun News covers the other side of the story.
You can't predict life's ups and downs. You just give it all you've got to stay on top. But it's easier with a partner like Security First Bank. Since 1898, we've been riding with you through the country's biggest ups and downs. And this is where we'll stay. Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on. Member FDIC.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. Better than I'm scared of. It's very sad no more that I can do this. But remember you know I usually say no, but if you throw me love, I'll feel it some more.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. Once again, our guests tonight are President Tom Johnson and Director Brandis Knudsen. Thank you both for being here, and I really appreciate what you're doing for our community, and definitely I'm just honored to have you both on the show, so thank you. Before the break, we were talking about the definition of elevate and our goals and some of those things, but in order to make those things happen, there's some building blocks, and I've seen one of your presentations, Tom, as far as what's necessary to get to those goals that you've set or that have been set for you as well. So can you talk to us a little bit about those and kind of explain it on our terms, I guess?
Yeah, Rich, if you think of what a community really is and how you do community and economic development, it really involves, for me, building blocks. And there's 7 of them that I use as a framework on how we're going to approach the work at Elevate. The first is leadership development and the role of public policy. So training leaders, whether they're Native American leaders or other leaders in the community. How do we train leaders? How do we advocate for public policy to help grow this community? That's the first building block. And we go up a level from there to quality of life. You know, we're here possibly in the Black Hills because we have a job, but what keeps us here? What are the things that we love about this area? So those are things that we can work on in the quality of life, downtown developments, culture and arts, those kind of things. The third one is workforce and education. We can't grow this economy without an available and ready and skilled workforce. So also talent pipelines and education in K through 12, working in those areas to help grow this economy. Then infrastructure, things like water, sewer, roads, broadband to all the areas of the Black Hills. That helps elevate and grow our economy as well. And from there, there's 3 more building blocks: existing business development. There's an old statistic out there that the SBA puts out that says essentially 60 to 80% of any of your job growth in an area, whether it's urban, suburban, or rural, is going to come from existing businesses. So you should spend a significant amount of your time helping those businesses grow. And then the next 2, the second to last, is entrepreneurship and innovation. we can grow our economy here in Black Hills through some of the entrepreneurship initiatives that we see at South Dakota School of Mines. But it's also in the Native community as well. How can we train a new generation of entrepreneurs who are Native American to grow and start their own businesses like Brandis has done? So that's exciting. And then finally, the one that gets the most press, it gets your name in the newspaper and gets the governor to come over and shake your hand, is business attraction. Can you recruit new businesses to the Black Hills and to Rapid City? My answer to that is absolutely we can. I've had a lot of experience doing that in Wyoming and Colorado to rural areas, and using relationships and some of the building blocks and amenities that the Black Hills naturally has, we can recruit businesses here. I'm very confident of that.
Is there a challenge in that, though? I mean, I couldn't even imagine what those challenges would be, but is there a challenge for that business attraction to Rapid City then? What are those challenges?
Yeah, I just talked about how I think we can do it, but there are some significant barriers. One is, if you think about Rapid City and the Black Hills, we are isolated. We're about 5 hours from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. So our ability to have manufacturing is kind of restricted because we're not close enough to markets to have those products made here and then cheaply transport them to larger markets like Denver, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and Seattle. So that does restrict us, our isolation. Also, our region's about 225,000 to 250,000, so the workforce is usually about half of that. So we don't have as big a pool of workforce as some of other communities might. But if you look at what we do have, we have a world-class university, South Dakota School of Mines. Black Hills State just up the road, we can pull those resources. We've got some great cultural resources, some of the stuff you cover here. We've got, our isolation also helps us with healthcare as being a mecca and a regional center for healthcare. And again, just the amenities of the downtown and the Black Hills, they're so powerful as an attractor. If you think about the ability to mountain bike and hike in the Black Hills, I mean, that is in the top 5 in the country. I mean, it is world-class mountain biking here. And so we can use that to attract workers, and we already are seeing workers from all over the country want to come to the Black Hills region because of some of those amenities. So I think we're going to be successful ultimately, even though we have those challenges.
You're pretty awesome, Tom. You sold me. I'm buying in. Brandis, if you could tell us a little bit, you're a good example of a business owner, somebody that's been doing it for a number of years, and a great team, or a great asset to the team that's already at Elevate and within the business community of Rapid City anyway. And so, could you talk to us a little bit about what your business is? What were some of the challenges of continuing that and helping it to grow and things like that? But also, what are some of your goals after that? Could you tell us a little bit about your goals of your position with Elevate then and the contribution you'll be making?
So for me, my small business ultimately was kind of a jumping block that led me to several other opportunities within my professional world as well. So over the last 15 years, I probably worked for 3 organizations within our community. During my time there, it's always about making the next step, the next improvement, the next place that I can go and how I can continue to, I guess, elevate myself. And within every organization I've been in with the last 15 years, there was probably no more than about a year or so that I stayed steady at one position before I got promoted to the next. So I just kind of continuous hard work. Tom had mentioned relationship before. I'm a firm believer that strong relationships and meaningful relationships are the keys to success and the keys to business regardless of what industry you're in. It's about meeting people, it's about connecting people, it's about advocating for people, and it's about promoting people and working together. And largely that's a lot more of what I'm looking to do in my expanded role. You had mentioned earlier the kind of milestone that I hit lately, and I'm a very driven person, so I'm always looking to outperform and do better from one year over the next. So ultimately, my goal next year will be to sign more investors than I have this year. But also at the same time, I understand from a business perspective that we want to minimize churn rates and that we want to have an emphasized focus on retention as well. And I think a lot of that just boils down to within kind of the merger and the additional resource that we have, it allows me to spend more of my time within the community, meeting new people, do more networking, more connecting, more promoting, and just really allowing me to build those solid relationships and be able to connect the dots of different people and organizations that can work together and make a bigger impact for our community.
So it's really just improving on what you've already set and the standards that you set for yourself. then.
Absolutely.
And
Continuous improvement and continuous elevation.
That's awesome. Every time I look at you, I'm just waiting for you to bust out with that song you did with the red bone, and I'm ready to dance, and we'll be back after a short break.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, or brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Thank you.
Kindness. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate today. Once again, our guests tonight, well, our very special guests tonight, have been President Tom Johnson and Director of Small Business Development and Investor Relations, Brandis Knudsen. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you again, Richie.
And just a good discussion. Let's talk a little bit about some of the major stakeholders or some of the major partners that you're working with, Tom, or have been working with, and their role in this.
Sure. If you look at the history of Elevate, it's been about a 2-year process, and as they were merging these two organizations together, they needed the input and monetary resources of a lot of groups. First, the business community. So we got the larger businesses involved and stakeholders in Elevate. They've put a lot of dollars into this, and time and resources and people. You've got the city and other stakeholders as well. But if you look at the chambers coming into this merger as well, they have literally hundreds and hundreds of small businesses. So those are also stakeholders in this as they renew their membership in the chamber, and as an investor in Elevate, they're also stakeholders as well. But then I also think about the folks that have not put money into Elevate. This is everybody in the region, including the Native American business community, also, any indigenous cultural resource group here as well. They're all stakeholders in the Black Hills as well. So they're stakeholders in Elevate as well. So as we try to elevate the region again, with voice, with everybody, not one group over the other, I believe truly that the Native American community is part of that. Even if they haven't put resources in from a monetary perspective, they still have a voice in what we're trying to do. It's very important to me. I wouldn't have come here for a job just to go recruit tech companies all day. That's going to be a small part of our job. We have an obligation and a duty to raise the entire region up, which means getting input as a dialogue with the Native American community and Native-owned businesses about how we can make that happen in conjunction with them, not in front of them, but in conjunction with them. So we're really excited, and I can't tell you how humbled I am to be here and try to work with Brandis and our organization to do that.
Sure. And Brandis, I've been seeing discussions around town regarding a possible Native American Chamber of Commerce here in Rapid City. And so how important is that for us? Or is that a need for us in Rapid City, at least from your perspective?
I do, ultimately think there is a need for it. I mean, at some point, I would like to see everyone kind of be able to work inclusively together. But I think there's certain stepping stones, and I think that the Native American people do need to feel more inclusion, and that does, may require some, special attention or special treatment to be able to, eventually bridge that gap. And this was something that Tom and I actually had some very preliminary conversations on when he first started with the organization. Tom, I feel has a very unique perspective growing up on the Wind River Reservation, even though he's non-Native American. He kind of experienced a lot of the kind of issues that we face on and off the reservation firsthand. So like I said, I feel like he has a very unique viewpoint to it, and that kind of started some of our initial conversations about what can we do here to, help Native Americans, and what things can we do to help Native American businesses. And so we had some very preliminary discussion on things that we thought we could do within our organization. And those have kind of been rapidly moved forward because of some other Native American business leaders or Native American owners had began a conversation about starting a Native American chamber. So of course I wanted to have a seat at that table and let them know that we wanted to work in conjunction with them and wanted to help with this in some way we can, whether it's a direct branch of our organization or if it's a separate entity that we're helping to support, but somehow we want to come together and work on this together and as we've said time and time again, basically elevate our entire community, not just one section of it.
So it is moving forward in this discussion of...
The discussion, I feel, is moving probably much quicker than I think anyone anticipated. We've had a lot of good feedback from the Native American leaders and business owners that we have met with. One thing I would say, though, our group has been kind of small at this point, and we're looking at expanding that. And with that being said, we are going to want to have a call to action soon to other Native American business owners and business professionals to get more involved, because no matter how we kind of structure this organization, whether it's part of us directly or if it's a separate entity that we're supporting, it is going to require a lot of volunteerism from throughout the Native American community and on our end as well. So again, something that we're looking at partnering with, sharing resources with, but neither us or the group that's started these conversations, none of us will be able to do this successfully without buy-in from the Native American business community, without them contributing their time, their efforts, and making this work. Very much as our organization is now and has been in the past, the Chamber of Commerce Division previously, a lot of our work is done through committees and volunteer groups throughout the community, and we will have to probably almost replicate in a sense that type of construction or organization format to make sure that this is able to move on all cylinders.
Sure. Brandis, I want to thank you for your work. Definitely for coming into our show. And Tom, thank you so much as well. Brandis, you mentioned Tom as being non-native, but he's as native as they get. Somebody should adopt him. I want to thank our producers. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Prairie Edge for hosting our show tonight. I want to thank you for making Oyate today a part of your night. Also, if you'd like to learn more about Oyate today, please visit oyatetoday.org.
You've been watching Oyate Today, brought to you by Native Sun News Today.
Way at all.